Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunities, or DEO's, Rebuild Florida Critical Facility Hardening Program presentation. My name is Caroline Pryor, and I'm on the Office of Disaster Recovery Mitigation team at DEO. Today's presentation will provide an overview of the Rebuild Florida Critical Facility Hardening Program, application requirements, scoring criteria, and next steps for the mitigation program. Our goals for today's webinar are to provide you with more information on the Rebuild Florida Critical Facility Hardening Program, CFHP, explain the program objectives, and outline how your communities can apply for this transformative, first-of-its-kind mitigation funding. We will begin with a brief overview of the mitigation program, communities that are eligible for the funding, and the guidelines and objectives of the Rebuild Florida Critical Facility Hardening Program. Following the explanation of those guidelines, I will review the application process and scoring criteria that will be utilized to evaluate submitted applications. Then we will discuss opportunities for how you can receive further technical assistance from the DEO team. After that, we will take a few moments to answer any questions you may have. As your questions arise, please type them in the question box. As a point of information, today's slides and presentation will be posted on our website shortly after the conclusion of this webinar. And with that, let's get started. The Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, DEO, is the primary state partner of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. We administer many HUD grant programs, which include Community Development Block Grants, or CDBG. The Office of Disaster Recovery is a branch within DEO that oversees CDBG disaster recovery funding for Hurricanes Hermine, Matthew, and Irma. Launched in September of 2018, Rebuild Florida is a program of DEO created with federal funding to help Florida's long-term recovery efforts from the devastating impacts of recent storms. We are preparing for $735 million in funding for disaster recovery for Hurricane Michael, and the CDBG-MIT program has over $633 million allocated. In the spring of 2018, HUD originally announced that Florida would receive more than $633 million in mitigation funding. These funds are available through HUD's newly created Community Development Block Grant Mitigation Program, formed in response to the presidentially declared disasters from 2015 to 2017. The Federal Register was published on August 30th, 2019. If you wish to view a copy of the Federal Register, please visit our website at rebuildflorida.gov. Per federal guidelines, 51 Florida counties are eligible for the mitigation funding. For Florida, this eligibility is based on 2016 and 2017 presidentially declared disasters. On April 3rd, 2020, HUD approved the State Action Plan. Over the next few weeks, we will be launching other new mitigation programs. According to the guidelines set by the Federal Register, at least 50% of these funds must be spent in HUD-designated most impacted and distressed or mid areas, shown in green on the map. The remaining funding can be spent in state-designated most impacted and distressed or mid areas, shown in yellow on the map. Additionally, as set in the Federal Register, 50% of the funding must benefit low to moderate income or LMI communities. 50% of the funds must be expended in 6 years, and 100% of these funds must be expended in 12 years. To ensure that this mitigation funding can be most effective, HUD created the CDBG-MIT program as a 12-year-long program. This chart displays the funding allocations for the CDBG-MIT programs. The programs we're launching include the Rebuild Florida General Infrastructure Program, Rebuild Florida Critical Facility Hardening Program, and the Rebuild Florida General Planning Support Program. The infrastructure programs received 87% of the funding allocation, with the General Infrastructure Program having a $475 million allocation and the Critical Facility Hardening Program having a $75 million allocation. For the Rebuild Florida General Planning Support Program, we have allocated $20 million, bringing us just over our $633 million total. As previously stated, the CFHP allocation is $75 million, with the application cycle opening last week on April 15th and closing on June 30th. DEO will use a subrecipient model to administer the grant funds to eligible applicants. Subrecipients will be selected through a competitive request for application RFA process. This program is not a direct grant program, and no funds will be paid directly to individuals. Those who are eligible to apply include units of general local government, UGLG, and state agencies, as well as nonprofits or non-governmental organizations that apply in partnership with their UGLG or state agency. Projects must be located in the HUD and state-designated mid areas, and HUD's national objectives of benefiting low to moderate income or LMI persons and or unmet needs must be accounted for in all project proposals. Hazards that should be addressed are those laid out in the State Action Plan, and the community lifelines that will be fortified in this program are also outlined for you in this slide. For the purposes of the CFHP, critical facilities are defined as the buildings or structures that serve as a public safety purpose for local communities. Critical facilities are essential for the functionality of a community and typically house operations that, if interrupted, will cause a negative impact on at least one of the 7 community lifelines. Critical facilities include, but are not limited to, potable water facilities, wastewater facilities, police and fire departments, hospitals, and emergency shelters. Again, this is not an exhaustive list, but rather examples to help you identify critical facilities in your communities. To be eligible for funding, grant proposals must be in conformance with the State Mitigation Plan, have a beneficial impact on the designated disaster area, solve a problem independently, or constitute a portion of a solution with assurance that the project as a whole will be completed, and be cost-effective or substantially reduce future risks. The CFHP application window opened on April 15, 2020, and closes on June 30, 2020. Applicants must describe what is being identified as a critical facility and address how and why it needs to be hardened to mitigate risks attributable to natural disasters. Plans must also include a proposed budget with a detailed description of anticipated costs by category, including support services and program management and administration. Application materials included in Appendices B through E of the guidelines contain the application form and instructions, the application checklist, and a sample application. Responses will be evaluated to ensure proposed projects meet the minimum criteria as outlined in the application materials. Applications that meet minimum threshold requirements will then be scored. To receive access to DEO's user-friendly online application, instructions, and submission checklist, CFHP application registration is available. To register, applicants should click the link on the mitigation webpage. A contact name and email address will be requested. Once registered, you'll be emailed an individualized application link. The application will be available from the CDBG-MIT website until June 30th, 2020. We encourage you to use the electronic application. However, there is a fillable PDF application that is posted on our website. The PDF version can be downloaded, completed, and submitted online to CDBG-MIT at deo.myflorida.com. If a paper application is submitted in lieu of an online application, 2 identical hard copies must be submitted. Paper applications must be postmarked by June 30th, 2020. Late applications will not be considered eligible for the Critical Facility Hardening Program. DEO will email application receipt confirmations by close of business on Tuesday, July 7th, 2020. To be eligible for funding, grant proposals must be in conformance with the state mitigation plan, have a beneficial impact on the designated disaster area, solve a problem independently, or constitute a portion of a solution with assurance that the project as a whole will be completed and be cost-effective or substantially reduce future risks. Eligible activities are limited to projects that increase the resilience of critical facilities. For this program, activities include, but are not limited to, dry proofing, wet proofing, anchoring roof-mounted heating, ventilation and air conditioning units, and retrofitting existing structures with hazard-resistant materials in accordance with national safety standards. You may do one or many of these things to harden your facility. Costs considered to be program ineligible include training, furnishings and personal property, political activities or lobbying, payments to for-profit businesses who are not in compliance with CDBG assistance, and any costs determined to be as unallowable or ineligible pursuant to federal laws and regulations. DEO will utilize a two-phase review process when scoring applications. The first phase is the threshold checklist. This includes a signed and completed application that was submitted on time by an eligible applicant, such as a unit of general local government, UGLG, that benefits HUD and/or state mid-identified areas. Project proposals that do not meet the mandatory threshold compliance criteria will not move on to Phase 2. Phase 2 will award applicants a score based on specific scoring categories and cost effectiveness. Only the application itself, including requested attachments, will be scored. Any documents submitted with the application that were not requested will not be scored. Under the Phase 2 process, there are 150 maximum points available broken out into the following categories: project description, community value, capacity plan, implementation plan, budget, leveraged dollars, mid areas, overall LMI benefit, social vulnerability, and special designations. If eligible responses exceed available funding, applicants will be funded in rank order based on evaluation scores. Let's take a look at the online application. Now we will do a step-by-step application walkthrough of our online user-friendly application and cover each value in the scoring rubric as we go along. We developed this application with your communities in mind. This is our landing page for the CFHP application. You'll see that there are links to the application instructions and templates that you'll have to fill out and attach with your submission. There's a mixture of short response, essays, and templates that will need to be submitted with this application. Please note that if you do not have a unique registration link, you will be unable to return to a saved application. If you would like to receive a unique registration link, please request one via email to cdbg-mit@deo.myflorida.com. Enter the information and primary contact name. If you are applying in partnership with another entity, such as a nonprofit or non-governmental organization, this is where you would enter their co-applicant information. If you have more than 3 co-applicants, list the 3 that are contributing the most to this project. Additional co-applicants can be identified in your capacity plan. For a maximum award of 20 points is project description. The applicant must explain in sufficient detail the nature of the project being proposed, as well as its purpose and what risks are being mitigated against. Applicants will also need to describe how the work will be completed, funding projection methods, and plans for operation and maintenance of the project post-grant. The next 20-point category is community value. Here, the applicant will describe the significance of the identified facility and discuss which community lifelines will be fortified as a result of project completion. The capacity plan, with a maximum of 15 points, outlines goals, work plan, including major tasks and deliverables, addresses which staff will accomplish what tasks, budget specifics, and the applicant's monitoring and maintenance plan. A maximum of 10 points may be awarded for the next category, the implementation plan. Here, the applicant must provide a chronological timeline of events from the project's beginning to end, including all deliverables and milestones. In the budget category, there is a maximum amount of 10 points. We expect detailed projections of finances for each step of the project. On this page of the application, you must also acknowledge whether or not there will be a duplication of benefits. If there is a duplication of benefits, the project will be ineligible to receive funding. We want to ensure that mitigation dollars go as far as possible. The leverage dollars category also has a maximum amount of 10 points. Remember, if $1 of HUD money is used, the project becomes a HUD project, so it must be HUD compliant. Here you will choose the county or counties that are impacted by your project. There are a maximum of 10 points in the mid-area category. HUD mids will receive 10 points and state mids will receive 5 points. There is a 10-point maximum for social vulnerability, or SOVI. SOVI takes and synthesizes a number of factors including age, gender, race, and unemployment rates to identify vulnerable communities. 2 points are awarded for a low SOVI score, 4 for medium-low, 6 for medium, 8 for medium-high, and 10 for high. As you can see, you can choose as many counties as are applicable to your particular project. For a maximum of 30 points is overall LMI benefit. Those with higher percentage of LMI benefit area will receive higher scores. Applicants must provide specific block groups in accordance with HUD's methodology. A maximum of 15 points may be awarded for special designations. This includes areas of critical state concern according to Florida Statute 380.05, rural county status or fiscally constrained county status. 5 points will be awarded per special designation. There are also a series of compliance questions. Sign to confirm your submission. This is the page of no return, so please ensure that all information is submitted. Double check that everything is attached and all necessary information is included. We recommend that you print your PDF. Here you can take a look at everything that has been recorded that you've submitted. And we recommend that you print a PDF for your records. Thank you. Applications will be independently reviewed and scored by DEO staff according to the aforementioned scoring criteria. We want to provide as much support as we can to program applicants. We will offer intensive TA through next week and will transition to a more traditional TA structure after that time frame ends. From April 24th to May 1st, DEO will provide one-on-one technical assistance phone calls with interested applicants. Email your questions ahead of your scheduled call to cdbg-mit@deo.myflorida.com. You can also reserve a time by visiting www.picktime.com/CDBG-MIT. After May 1st, applicants will still have additional opportunities to receive further technical assistance from our mitigation team members. Now we will dedicate the remainder of this webinar to answer questions about the program. I'm here with DEO staff members Joseph Oglesby and Alyssa Hernandez, who represent the mitigation team. As a point of information, all slides along with the transcript of today's presentation will be made available shortly after today's webinar. To learn more, please visit www.rebuildflorida.gov. And with that, let's dive into some questions.
We do want to note that that video of how to do the application will also be posted so that you can review that on your own time. So we're going to get into some questions. Please continue to write your questions in the question box and we'll answer as many of them as we can during this time. Question: how many projects should be included in one application? Answer: applicants may only propose one project per application. Next question: how many applications can one entity submit? Entities may submit as many applications as they wish. If entities are submitting more than one application, please make sure to name your attachment files, entity name, the name of the document, and then underscore that name of the document and a 1 after. So this will all be posted to the website, but we ask you specifically for naming conventions within our documents, within the application, and the only difference if you have more than one application for your entity, say your city, then you would put a 1 or 2 or 3, etc. So again, the only difference is if you have more than one application, we need you to put a number with your application. All right, our next question. Does this grant only apply to existing critical facilities that need to be hardened, updated, or replaced? Yes, the Critical Facility Hardening Program only applies to existing critical facilities that need to be hardened. I do want to preview that we will have a general infrastructure program that will roll out in just a few months here. And at that time, we can entertain projects that include new construction. But for this specific project that we are rolling out right now, the Critical Facility Hardening program, this is for existing facilities.
Okay, we're going to move on. This is Joseph. We're receiving this question quite a bit. Is there a ceiling amount for the maximum request per application? So yes, the maximum amount that can be requested is $15 million, and there is a minimum of $50,000. Remember, this is an allocation across all the applications that you submit. Another great question that we received, what is the match that is required to participate in this program? There is no match required to participate in this program. Another question that has been submitted several times, can these funds be used as match? Yes, these funds can be used as match for FEMA programs, specifically HMGP, as well as PA matches. So yes, these funds can be used as match for other federal programs.
Right. We have another question. Can an organization that is a non-state agency or non-governmental entity, UGLG, with a critical facility apply to this program? So in this case, the primary applicant must be a unit of general local government or state agency. However, non-state and non-governmental entities can participate as co-applicants for the Critical Facility Hardening Program. As long as the UGLG is the primary applicant and the critical facility to be hardened is included. So again, if you are a non-UGLG or non-state agency, you are still eligible to apply, but you do need to apply through your through a UGLG or state agency.
Another question that we've had are generators an eligible expense. Generators, if they are portable, are not going to be an eligible expense. If you are doing modifications to your building, if you're trying to harden your power grid by having permanent affixed generators to your facility, that could be an eligible project. Portable generators are not something that HUD will allow us to fund. So please know, no portable generators will be funded.
Right. My county is not a HUD or state designated mid-county. Will I still be able to apply for this grant? No. Eligible areas for the CDBG-MIT program include HUD and state designated mid areas and or designated zip codes only. All right, another one. My county is located within a HUD or state designated mid. Does the project also have to fall in one of the designated zip codes to be eligible? No. Eligible applicants for the CFHP program include HUD or state designated mid counties and zip codes. If your county is located within a HUD or state designated county or zip code, then your project is eligible for this program. It does not have to be both at the same time.
We've had a question about Wakulla County being included in this. It says Wakulla is mentioned in some, but not in others. Yes, Wakulla County is a state designated mid. They are eligible to participate in the program. We've had other questions relating to equipment such as fire trucks and ambulances. No, those will not be eligible expenses. in the Critical Facility Hardening Program. Are engineering and admin costs for a new project covered under the grant? Engineering and admin costs may be eligible under covered cost.
Okay. Another question is a public housing authority created by Section 421.04 in the Florida statutes an eligible applicant entity? The answer is organizations and entities with a critical facility in need of hardening that are not a UGLG or state agency may apply only in partnership with their UGLG or state agency as a co-applicant. The application leaves only 3 spaces for co-applicants. If you have additional co-applicants, you will explain that in your in the following documentation, in the follow-up documentation.
We've received quite a few questions about when we will be looking at applications, when the application cycle opens and closes. The application cycle opened on the 15th of April. The application cycle closes on the 30th of June. So all applications must be submitted within that window. It asks, how many days after closing will the winners be announced? Please remember that after we receive our applications, we also have a scoring time. So we will go through and we will score, evaluate the projects, as was mentioned in the presentation. After scoring, evaluation, we will have to do site visits. After the site visits, then we will go back and make sure that scores did not change. So we are going to move through this process as quickly as we can, but please remember it will take some time for us to be able to conduct our visits. With the outbreak of COVID, we are going to be playing everything by ear. Some site visits may turn into conference calls, so we're willing to be as flexible as possible with our applicants to make sure that we do everything we can to move through this as quickly, efficiently, and also as safely as possible.
Okay. Will you be providing support on application submissions and grant maintenance? Yes. DEO will provide technical assistance during the application submission period, the entire period, and grant monitoring stages. By no means is this a hands-off project. This is, we will be there to answer questions, to be available to you, and you should not be afraid to ask us any questions through email or any of the ways that we have listed on our website to get in contact with us.
Will Davis-Bacon be required? Yes, we will be required to meet all regulations that deal with Davis-Bacon as well as Section 3. Please remember, as we're discussing these critical facilities, we're speaking especially towards those facilities that, such as your police departments, your fire stations, emergency facilities, hospitals, things like that. As Alyssa mentioned earlier, if you have different areas of your communities that need mitigation hardening, such as roadways, maybe wastewater facilities, things that are larger projects, that it's not just a critical facility, such as the items that I just mentioned. There will be programs available for that. If you have any questions on what your program or your project would be, if it would be a critical facility, please reach out, and we would be happy to discuss that with you. We've got another really great question. do projects have to demonstrate damage resulting from a specific disaster? So this is a little different from our infrastructure through DR. There does not have to be a tieback to a particular event, the damage. However, you do have to tie back into a geographic area that was impacted by Hermine, Matthew, or Irma. So no damage tieback, but you must be located in an area that was impacted by the storms that were mentioned.
Okay. I had another question. If you are selected, if you apply for this project and you are selected for a hardening, would that make you ineligible for any of our other programs, infrastructure or planning programs? The answer is no. That does not make you ineligible. You can apply within each of the programs multiple times, and you can also apply across the programs. So again, you can apply for the planning, you can apply for infrastructure, and you can apply for critical facility hardening. And just to reiterate, we do need only one project, so one facility at a time per application. So if your facility needs a generator and a roof and floodproofing, but it is the same facility, that goes under one application. If you have multiple firehouses that are in need of generators, each of those facilities will be looked at individually through their own application.
We've had several questions about using these funds to harden government buildings. Please remember that these funds are not to be used on buildings for the conduct of general government purposes. So your city hall, your courthouse, buildings like that that house administrative offices will not be considered as eligible for this program. However, if you have one building that serves multiple purposes and you'd like to ask us if there's a possibility of maybe prorating cost of hardening a facility, please reach out to us and let us talk through that with you. I think that would be best, other than just a blanket no on anything like that. So if you do have a question about hardening a portion of a facility that may occupy some general government offices, please reach out so we can discuss that with you. I have a few questions about public notice and public meetings. Even though we are dealing with COVID-19 and public meetings are a little tricky at this time, HUD has given some guidance on having information available to your communities on what you do want to apply for. So the community must be noticed. I believe it's still for 14 days of what the community would like to apply for, but no in-person meetings are going to have to be held at this time until we receive further guidance from HUD. So we've had a few questions about duplication of benefits. That's one thing that everyone does need to be very aware of. If you are hardening a facility, let's say you are having to harden a roof and you received insurance proceeds to repair that roof, we're going to have to offset the cost of the insurance that you received from the total project cost of hardening. So remember, these are funds of last resort. We are here to help fill funding gaps that are needed. We will need to see any funds that you receive from insurance, any funds that you receive from other federal programs.
Okay. We do want to reiterate that our website is chock full of resources for you. We will, in the upcoming days, be posting a frequently asked question document that we will keep updated throughout the life cycle of this program. So we do want to have you first to go to our website. On the website, if you are not regularly getting emails from us, you can go and sign up to be on our list. You will then be notified when we open any programs, if there are any changes, if there are any new documents, and things of that nature. If there's additional trainings or another webinar, we will be posting it to that website first.
We've had a question about the maximum amount of 15 million. Please note that this 15 million maximum is for this program only. It's for critical facility hardening program only. It does not mean that you cannot receive funds from another program that will come online. That 15 million cap is for this program specifically.
We do have questions about the application process. We know that this is a new process for us, but we hope that it makes it more user-friendly for you. So our preference is that you fill out the online application. In order to get an individualized link, you need to request a link through our website, and we have provided the links. We need you to basically fill out a registration form, and we will then email you out a specific link for you. With that link, you will be able to go back and forth into your application. Otherwise, without that link, we cannot guarantee that your information will be saved, but if you use a general link. However, if you are using that link that is specifically assigned to your application, you will be able to go in and out of that application until your application is finally submitted.
We've had this question several times that I would like to point out. It's asking if these projects must be listed on your LMS. No, these projects do not have to be listed on your LMS list. These can be projects that have not been listed by your groups. So please remember that these funds are not tied in any way to projects that go through LMS.
Okay. We did want to highlight something that we saw on an earlier slide about the technical assistance. There is a website, and I will give you the address now, www.picktime, that's PICKTIME.com/CDBG-MIT. Through that website, you have the opportunity to, on a first-come, first-served basis, go into the website and essentially book a time to meet with the mitigation team. And we are calling these one-on-ones. They are scheduled for 20 minutes at a time. In those 20 minutes, we will go through and answer as many questions as we can. To make that time most efficient, we ask that you send that information, the questions that you'll be asking, if you send that to us ahead of time, to the CDBG-MIT at DEO mailbox. Once you fill out the picktime.com booking, once that's filled out, you will get an email detailing all of the information, confirming your time. So please don't be alarmed or think you need to write everything down at this point. The only thing you need to know is that in this next week, we will be doing 20-minute one-on-ones, and to access that schedule, you need to go to picktime.com/CDBG-MIT.
We've had several people ask the question What if I am working on preparing applications for multiple communities? Will I need individual links? Yes, you will need to have an individual link for each of those communities. So no, you will not be able to provide all applications through one. A good question we've had about using these funds as match for other programs. As you apply for other programs, you can mention that you have submitted an application with us to provide that match. However, we cannot guarantee you anything. Just because you submit an application does not mean you will be funded. So just want to be clear with that. We've had another question on the $15 million cap. Just to make sure that we're all clear, I apologize if I misspoke. The $15 million cap, whatever projects you have in the hardening, those projects can total no more than $15 million for this particular program only.
So again, that means if you have 3 firehouses that need generators, you would be submitting 3 applications, but that is all falling under one entity, and that one entity, so your city or your county, would have that maximum and minimum cap.
For any questions that people have on areas that are eligible or areas that are not, we do want to refer you to the information that is on our website. There's a great map that's color-coded to show you. There was a waiver request that was issued to include the entire state to be eligible for these funds. Unfortunately, that waiver request was not granted. So please do note the map, the color-coded map, to see if you are in either a HUD designated area or a state designated area.
And that map exists on our website, and it is also on page 19 of the action plan. I do want to mention that in previous documents, we had Wakulla County and Taylor counties missing from the information. We have since remedied that, and all of our documentation on the website now includes both Taylor and Wakulla counties. So to be clear, Taylor and Wakulla counties are both state mids, and they will be eligible for funding.
A great question. Is this grant program for shovel-ready projects only? No, this program is not for shovel-ready projects. This program, the MIT program, is different from regular DR because the timelines are much longer. We will have timelines which we expect funds to be expended with our subrecipients as we work through that subrecipient agreement. We have a question about Jefferson County not being included as a state designation, even though that there are mids on either side. State designated mids are designated by using information from the Presidential Declaration of Public Assistance and Individual Assistance. In order to be a state mid, you have to be declared for individual assistance as well as public assistance for all categories. We've had a few questions on the website for pick time. We've had a few people saying they've received an error message. We're definitely taking a look at that. So please stand by. We will make sure that everything is going to work for everyone on that.
And as a follow-up, everybody who is on this webinar right now, we have your contact information. And so if there are any updates to links, we will be able to send it out to everybody on this webinar list right now. And we also have our other list that I directed you to earlier and our website. So please stay tuned to those sources.
And going back to timeline, typically the timeline to go through a project has roughly been 24 months. That's most likely the timeline that we will look at. However, since we do have longer times built in for this grant, we don't want to say it specifically just yet because we need to look at the programs. So I hope that helped clear that up. So when are the funds going to be dispersed to the selected applicants? So after we go through and we do our scoring, site visits, we'll do the notice to award. After that, we work with the subrecipient on an approved subrecipient agreement. No funds will be reimbursed to the subrecipient until a grant agreement, the subrecipient agreement, has been signed by both the subrecipient and DEO. We appreciate all the questions. We've gotten a lot of very good questions. We look forward to answering more questions on an individual basis. So we've got a few more. I know we're running short on time, but we will try to answer a few more questions before we give you a last bit of information. Yes, we've got a question on UGLG. Yes, a UGLG is a unit of local government. Your county, your city, your town, those entities will make up your unit of local government. Please remember, we do want our nonprofits and our non-governmental entities to work with their unit of local government if there is a critical facility that they would like to submit for us to review. Please also remember, we are here outside of the webinar and the one-on-ones to answer questions. So please let us know what we can do. One question, will both the local government and the partnering entity both have to sign the subrecipient agreement? So what will happen when we have a local government that is the partner for the non-governmental entity? You will enter into an MOU with one another, and then the local government would be the signers of the subrecipient agreement.
So somebody has asked specifically, can a sheriff's department or independent fire authority or independent water authority apply directly? The answer is no. They must apply going through the local unit of general government, your UGLG.
We have another question about the 50% benefit to low to moderate income. Remember, this is different from other DR programs. The threshold has been lowered to 50%. So if your community does not meet the 50% LMI benefit, that does not mean that you cannot submit an application, but everyone does need to understand that we will spend at least 50% of these funds in LMI areas. So we have a question. We are a non-entitlement city. Do we have to go through the county? No, this is not like regular CDBG. If you are a city, if you are that unit of local government, you are not required to go through your county. So this is different. There are many things that are similar to regular CDBG, specifically environmental requirements, Section 3, Davis-Bacon, but there are some things that are a little different.
We had a question come through about procurements earlier. We do want to be clear that all procurements must follow both the state and federal HUD guidelines and also DEO's guidelines. All of that will be laid out clearly if you are successful in your application process. But we do want to be clear from upfront that if any procurement takes place, if we're to reimburse that funding, it has to go through the proper channels. Okay.
And one thing, we've had a lot of questions about utilities. Utilities are something that, please remember that utilities are not a unit of general local government. If you do have a municipal power and you have questions, please reach out and talk to us. But spending on utility companies is something that that is not allowable. But if you do have that muni, that co-op between different communities, please reach out to us where we can discuss it further.
Okay. As we get close to wrapping up, we do want to say that we will be sending out a quick survey for the webinar, just to make sure that we are doing everything on our side that we can to get you the information you need. And so please fill that out when you receive that survey in the next 24 hours. And any other pertinent links we will make sure to include in that follow-up email. Team, is there anything else?
Yeah, one follow-up. I just want to remind everyone that this is the Critical Facility Hardening Program. Please go on the website and look at the other programs that we will also be having, planning, and also a general infrastructure program. We've gotten a lot of questions about construction, modification, just larger scale mitigation projects. Those most likely will fall under the general infrastructure program. So, you know, like I'd mentioned earlier, if you've got something with your roads, a large project at your wastewater treatment facility, if you've got large projects for drainage, things of that nature, please know that we will have the general infrastructure program that will be better suited for that. But we really appreciate your taking the time to join us today for the webinar. We look forward to getting additional questions from you, and especially the opportunity to discuss potential projects with you on the one-on-ones. So thank you for your time and your attention, and we're going to go ahead and conclude the webinar. We hope everyone has a great afternoon. Thank you.